I met Nicholas Heyward in 2000. And I watched this man as he stood up and went up against whatever it took to get his message out. I'm like, what? I don't see too many men doing that. I'm honored to stand here and give you Nicholas Heyward.
Good evening, everyone. I am honored to be here. I am also honored that this event is being held by the most powerful Cornel West and Carl Dix. Rise Up October is something that should have been done many Octobers ago. My son was killed. I use the word killed, but I really like to say murdered. Whenever you shoot and kill someone who's unarmed, committing no crimes, no threat to anyone, and you shoot and you kill that person, that's murder, in my book. Nicholas was a 13-year-old honor student who was killed. Yesterday, August 26, he would have been 34. Yesterday was a very painful day for me. I cried just about half the whole day. I made calls to my other son who's in Georgia. He's kind of busy, he ain't even give me a call back. But the reality is that Nicholas Jr. is no longer here because of a cowardly cop who shot and killed him while he was playing with his friends, an innocent game of cops and robbers, with plastic toy guns that looked at nothing like a real gun. They were all colorful guns, and none of them looked close to a real gun. Telling this story over and over and over the last 21 years, making pleas to elected officials to really take a good look into this case and reopen this case. I made many pleas to Charles Hines when he was in office to reopen this case, because in the deposition that was done on the officer contradicted all of the reasons and findings for closing the case. They stated that the officer was on a 911 call and that things happened in a split second, that the stairwell lighting was dimly lit. In the deposition that was done on the officer said no, the stairwell lighting was not dimly lit, he was not on a 911 call, and that things didn't happen in a split second. The statement that this officer made was just, it was beyond belief. He said that when he opened up the stairwell door, no one was there, and that my son jumped down from the stairs in front of him. He said then he jumped back up the steps, then he jumped back down the steps, then he pointed the plastic toy gun and started clicking it at him, and then he said that's when he shot him. That is something that my son would have never ever even thought to do. I want to tell you that a year before Nicholas was murdered, he was kidnapped from me. We were standing in front of our housing building when officers came running into the community chasing some youth. They tackled one of the youth in front of us. We had a dog, the dog started barking, the officer pulled out his gun and said, get your dog off and shoot him. I grabbed the dog, I brought him in the house, I came back outside. Me, Nicholas, and my wife at the time and my sister was standing there, and the officer comes back over to us, pulls out his gun and points it in Nicholas' face. He's going to arrest my son. I started out, no, that's my son, he didn't do anything wrong, what are you doing? He don't say anything, he just turns to me and points the gun at me and tells me to mind my business. Then he takes my son over to where he had all the other kids laying down. I goes over to the sergeant who I see, and I say, excuse me, that's my son, he didn't do anything, he was with me. And we watched y'all as y'all was running and chasing these other children. He said he didn't know what was going on. They picked my son up and they brought him down to the precinct. My son was in the precinct for about a good hour before they brought him down. When they brought him down, he literally tried to run out the door. I had to stop him. I said, wait a minute, where you going? Wait. Daddy, I want to go home. Daddy, I want to go home. Excuse me. I said, we're going to go home. Just tell me what happened when you was upstairs, son. He said, Daddy, I kept telling them that I didn't do anything. I didn't do nothing, Daddy. They put me in the lineup, and he said the officer told him that if he don't shut his mouth, he's going to stick this gun up his butt and pull the trigger. The other officer, he tells me, told him that he wouldn't live to be 15. I went and I filed a complaint against the Officers Civilian Complaint Review Board. I didn't get a response back until a year and a half later after Nicholas was murdered. In the complaint, after they reviewed, they say they found the officer's actions to be lawful and proper. That in itself is why I'm saying Nicholas would have never did what this officer said he did, jump back and down, the steps and then pointed this plastic toy gun at him. That is something that is, unreal. One last thing I want to say. In my years of fighting to get this case reopened, I finally got a call from the DA yesterday, and they are willing for me. They set up a meeting, told me I could come to the DA's office on Tuesday and talk to them and show them, the deposition and everything, which contradicts the reasons and findings from Charles Hines, the prior DA, from closing the case. So. But the struggle and the fight is not over.
Thank you, brother. I just want to acknowledge and thank all of you here for being so respectful to these families. We want to thank you all for sharing of yourselves during this time.